Welcome back, everybody. We are on video 3 of 8, getting into the NFC East now, grading every pick, every draft, every team, talking about who got the best players, the best value, the best scheme fits, who is building the best for the future from this awesome draft this weekend. Please do hit that like button down below. It seriously helps support the channel so much. Drop a comment as well what you think about how I graded your team. And NFC East fans, y'all behave yourselves. We know how you like to be in these comment sections, so let's act like grown adults. Today, how about we? Starting with the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Well, this draft was maybe just fine. I don't know. They've had some amazing drafts lately. This one didn't quite leave that initial, like previous ones, but Micah Parsons ends up being the pick at pick 112 after they moved down from 110, and their whole draft strategy got thrown off because I truly believe they were sitting there at 110. I think the trade down is evidence of this. They were like, give us Patrick Surtain, give us J.C. Horn, doesn't really matter. They're both great scheme fits. They're both great values. We like them both a lot, and we'll build the rest of our draft after that, after filling that glaring hole at corner that they had. And they end up having to react. They trade down, buy themselves some time to think about it, and they end up falling back on the Dallas Cowboys philosophy of just draft the best player available. And that's what they do with Micah Parsons. And it's definitely not a bad philosophy to fall back on. This pick ends up getting a B+ for me. I agree that Micah Parsons was the best player on the board. And this is somewhat reminiscent of when this team went with CeeDee Lamb last year. Some people, myself included, a little bit curious about how he's going to fit in there because you have Michael Gallup, you have Amari Cooper, but similar to Michael Gallup, who's now entering the final year of his contract, you have Leighton Vander Esch, who I can only imagine they will turn down his 5th-year option after this draft selection. And Vander Esch is actually a very good comparison for Micah Parsons. 6'4", 250-pound freak athlete, can really do a lot and wear different hats as a linebacker. But anyway, Leighton Vander Esch is currently a better football player than Micah Parsons. But he's got really 2 outcomes for his future as a Cowboy. Road A is the one you hope for. He has a great year, and he ends up going elsewhere. You get a compensatory pick back because you can't afford him. Dallas Cowboys, they're already pushed up against the cap, and they're paying Jalen Smith next to him. So that's the best case scenario, and then Micah Parsons learns and develops, and a good opportunity to grow under some mentors there. Option B there is, unfortunately, Leighton Vander Esch does have some back, neck, spine question marks. I don't know the full details there, but I know it's something that the Cowboys are worried about. Clearly enough to take Micah Parsons here as well. So worst case scenario is he's unable to stay on the field, and you end up with a heck of a need being filled here with a great football player in Micah Parsons. So it's a B+ pick for me. Definitely not a bad pick, but also just not the most amazing pick you'll ever see. Good, solid pick. And then same thing with pick 212 for me. Kelvin Joseph. I do like Kelvin Joseph a lot, but he's also a player that I think honestly needs to develop quite a bit before he's ready to play. Uber athlete. And the other thing is the scheme fit here is interesting. He's not a very good press corner. He can do a lot of press bail. He's also much better in man coverage than zone, in my opinion. So interesting scheme fit to come in here, to bring him in here with Dan Quinn in this press Seattle 3 defense. I'm very fascinated to see how he develops in the system. I love his upside. He's got the length that they look for, and I don't think it was a reach by any stretch of the imagination. But in my opinion, I do question the scheme fit, and I question the coaching staff to develop a more raw player like this when they might ask him to fill that starting cornerback position on day one, which I have question marks on if that's going to work out for them. So I'll just say that, but I do think it was a good pick in the 2nd round. And then in the 3rd round, they end up with Osa Odigizua, who is one of my guys in this draft. Now, I really wanted to see Osa go to a 3-4 defense where he can play kind of next to a true nose tackle as that 3-tech, 4-tech, 3-4 defensive end. Unfortunately, it's not the case here. This is the same scheme that failed Solomon Thomas, so I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm not going to lie. I'm not trying to just completely shred the Dallas Cowboys, but these are, I will not lie, some interesting scheme fits. I still like the player a lot. I think they got a good value, and he gives you some pass rushing ability on the inside. And I would not be surprised to see him play some early down run defense on edge as well, with Randy Gregory being the only other edge guy there who just is not a good run defender at all. At least I thought that until they took Chauncey Golston about 10 picks later. Chauncey Golston is one of the highest impact defensive linemen in this class. Day one, first, second down run defender, does not rush the passer. I do think this was a reach. He fills a certain need for this team as that early down run defender, as we mentioned. Randy Gregory, just not a run defender at all. But Chauncey Golston is going to get a lot of playing time. He's going to contribute here. Did you need to spend a third-round pick on that player? In my opinion, hell no. It's a very replaceable skill set there that Chauncey Golston brings to the table. It's why I had a 5th to a 6th round grade. And the reason Chauncey had a 5th round, 6th round grade, being that replaceable skill set, is exactly why this draft pick gets a C- from me. Then you got Nahshon Wright. I was a little higher on Nahshon Wright. I saw that the Athletic consensus board, a lot of people didn't even have him in their top 300 prospects. I did think he was a draftable player. I think he moves better than you would expect for a 6'4" corner. But that said, his 3-cone was terrible. I don't think it fully matches his film, but he is 6'4". He's incredibly stiff. But if he's going to succeed anywhere, it's going to be in a press, cover 3 Seattle scheme. They clearly are looking for that skill set. They took an almost identical player in Israel Mukuamu later in the 6th round. So you get a couple dart throws at that lengthy corner. I just am not a fan of those types of players. Trey Flowers, for example, for the Seahawks. I just think you're so limited when you have such an inability to change direction and cover players in man coverage, laterally speaking. But from a value perspective in this scheme, it's not the end of the world. It does get a C. Jabril Cox, everyone loved Jabril Cox. This is kind of a victory lap moment for me. I had a 3rd to a 4th round grade on Jabril Cox. He was on my not my guys list, and I did not understand for the life of me how respected analysts had him in a top 50 position in this draft. It never made sense to me. He's a decent cover player. He's got length. He's not a good run defender, and I don't think he's an elite athlete to be a high-end cover player, which if you're ranking him as a top 50 linebacker, that's right there with like Jamin Davis, which just does not add up to me. He's a good football player. I think he can be a good weak side linebacker for this team in the future. I think Keanu Neal will fill that role decently for them this year, and Jabril Cox and Keanu Neal can compete for that sort of base 4-3 weak side, but you're also going to have Micah Parsons in there as well. So I don't see how he sees the field this year. I don't see him as this best player available value pick. It was good value, 3rd, 4th round. This is where I expected Jabril Cox to go, or at least where I would have drafted him. So a lot of people thought this was some steal. Not in my opinion. I didn't see him as some awesome prospect. He's a good prospect. And then they take Josh Ball. I do like this pick. He is a developmental tackle. It's hard to find the length he has. He's got decent athleticism. So I did have a 6th round to a priority free agent grade on him, but this is effectively the 5th round here, a compensatory 4th round pick, and he's in a position where he's not going to start. So overall, I like the landing spot there for Josh Ball as a developmental tackle, which is exactly what I saw in him out of Marshall. This is one of my favorite picks from a value perspective that they made. It actually gets the only true A grade in the Cowboys draft. Simi Fehoko out of Stanford. So think about Michael Gallup on the way out here. Think about Dak Prescott. How many times I've talked about how he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL of under pressure, finding a good place to put a contested catch opportunity, call it a 50-50 ball for Dak Prescott. He does that as much as anybody in the NFL. And Simi Fehoko is going to be great for that. He's an underrated player in this class. I had a 4th round grade on him. So I think Simi Fehoko can fill in as the 3rd wide receiver and play the Michael Gallup role, who I think is probably going to take a back seat to CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper in a little bit anyway this year. And might allow them to potentially trade Michael Gallup at the deadline there if Fehoko looks good at that point. And then 6.8, you have Quinton Bohanna, fine, 7th round priority free agent defensive tackle. They needed some more size in there, so I understood that pick. It is what it is. We talked about Mukuamu earlier. I like the dart throw in the 6th round there. And then, unfortunately, I was really aiming to have every player evaluated, every player on my radar. I did over 500 prospect evaluations this year, but Matt Farniok was not one of those 503 players. So I'm going to give this an incomplete. Call it a C if you want. Doesn't change the final grade, I don't think. Maybe they see something that I might have seen in them, but who knows. Gets an incomplete. The Dallas Cowboys get a B- grade for me. It's just kind of a disjointed draft from the get-go. I think they got some good football players. I don't think they failed the draft by any stretch of the imagination, but compared to a lot of drafts this year, it just doesn't really stack up. So, sorry Cowboys fans, you're going to get a B- this year after a great draft last year. Then the New York Giants, just 6 picks, so they're not going to take quite as long, but I love what the Giants did, and The players that they took is one thing. I think they made some good picks in there, but one thing that they did that was big for me was Dave Gettleman trading down twice. And I don't think this was intentional, but the way I look at this is, I'm going to be honest, man. I don't think Daniel Jones is the quarterback of the future. I think there's a pretty good chance that the Giants are strongly considering a quarterback next year. Just Daniel Jones kind of in that Jimmy Garoppolo spot where the Niners are at, where they're ready for that next step. They're ready for a potentially elite quarterback. That's just where I view Daniel Jones. I think most Giants fans are with me on that, but if you're not, that's fine. You're allowed to disagree with me there. But moving down, you get a first-round pick from the Bears next year, which is no guarantee to be a playoff team. You could be getting a top 16 pick from them. And then you actually got an extra third round grade from Miami for moving down and then getting Azeez Ojulari in the second round. So you have an extra third and an extra first next year. Those will be assets that you could maybe use to navigate the draft next year to find your quarterback. So that is actually going to inflate the Kadarius Toney grade, which to me is more of a B minus. And then the Azeez Ojulari, which is probably an A. I think that bumps, or maybe even an A+. That's a great find at 218, but it makes it an extra A+ that you got a third-round pick on top of that. So, yes, the Giants got some good players here, and we'll talk about those in a second, but the final grade, I need to say, is going to be boosted because of these trade downs. It's also good to see Dave Gettleman adapting. I was really applauding Dave Gettleman for a lot of the ways he's evolved over the last 2 years in many different ways. So, let's talk about Kadarius Toney. They moved down, get him at 120. Giants fans' initial reaction was kind of disgust with this pick. It made sense to me. I mean, if you are going to try to win with Daniel Jones, which obviously is what they're hoping to do, I think he could use some more explosiveness in the short to intermediate game. Obviously, you're getting Saquon back, but it's not like Sterling Shepard is this great run-after-catch threat. You just lost Golden Tate. Evan Ingram is good after the catch if he catches the ball. And then you have, Slayton and Golladay are more outside going deep, and Daniel Jones is not this elite vertical passer. He's not bad at it, but if he's going to thrive, it's going to be getting more playmakers underneath, similar to what we've talked about maybe in a lower or maybe a higher degree with Daniel Jones, with Cam Newton, with the Patriots. But Kadarius Toney is going to do that. He's going to be able to separate quickly. I think there's some room to grow as a route runner, but most importantly, if they find creative ways to put the ball in his hands, he's going to be able to create tough yardage. And tackling him and Saquon Barkley is not going to be a fun task for opposing defenses. So I do think it was a good pick. I did have a first to a second round grade on Toney, so I don't see this as a reach. I think it was a good pick all around. Maybe just not an elite pick. And then again, inflated by the trade down, you get Kadarius Toney and the Bears' first round pick, which is a big plus. You get Azeez Ojulari. This is pretty simple, man. He's great scheme fit, this hybrid edge fit. Even without the trade down, I think it's an A+. You've now got double kind of athletic Georgia edge players with Lorenzo Carter, Azeez Ojulari. I'm a big fan of that landing spot. Really made sense. And then Aaron Robinson in the third round is just a good, solid pick. I've talked about the importance of having depth at corner. So he can play in the slot for you. He'll compete with all of these different pieces you have. Really rounds out that secondary quite well. And in your dime packages, I think you see him get some playing time this year. He's a guy with a lot of experience, 23 years old, good athlete, versatile, can play inside and out, and good zone instincts as well for the team that ran more cover 3 than anyone last year. The Ellerson Smith pick in the fourth round, some people really liked Ellerson Smith. If you're going to go off my evaluations, this is just kind of a meh pick. He's a good athlete from a small school. He's got some good pass rush moves. The scheme fit's a little interesting. I saw him as more of a 4-3 hand-in-the-dirt type of edge rusher. So I don't know. I don't personally see much coming from Ellerson Smith, but we'll see how that goes. Gary Brightwell in the sixth round. I thought there was a lot of better running backs available, but I will say he fits the Giants' mindset. I definitely see what they like in him. I see a lot of Alexander Madison in Gary Brightwell in that he's not a great athlete, but he runs with his hair absolutely on fire. And it's ironic that we get to use that saying because he also has dreadlocks, but just runs like balls to the wall. And it's kind of a nice contrast to Saquon Barkley, who, it's not that he doesn't run with power, but he does kind of dance around a little bit, tries to make guys miss, whereas Gary Brightwell will come in and just punch you in the mouth. So I like the stylistic fit there. It's just you probably could have gotten him as a free agent, but whatever. Radarius Williams, cornerback out of Oklahoma State, was one of my favorite kind of day 3 corners in this class, and he's got awesome zone instincts. I think he's one of the smarter zone cover corners. I can imagine the Giants just looked at him and probably were like me, had a 4th round grade on him, was one of the best players left on their board, and was just like, let's just take him. He can be our 6th corner, and you never know. You can never have enough good corners, especially in the 6th round. So a final grade of A- for the New York Giants. This is definitely boosted by the addition of a 1st and a 3rd round pick next year, and I think that the Giants will be very happy to have those picks next year for reasons I detailed earlier. Then we get the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of picks here to break down as well. Now, Eagles fans were coming for Howie Roseman's head, and I stood my ground a little bit. I was like, look, he's had a couple of really rough years, but I have a lot of respect to lose for Howie Roseman, and he had started to lose it. But I'm just going to say that this draft has to put him back on the mark, at least as a GM that knows what the hell he's doing. This draft was wildly impressive to me. So you get Devontae Smith and a 1st round pick next year. And I think it's either the Niners or the Dolphins' 1st round pick, so I'm not exactly sure there. But you get a 1st round pick next year and Devontae Smith, the guy that they probably wanted all along with the 6th pick. I've talked in depth about how he's going to help Jalen Hurts with the first read stuff. It's an A+ pick. That alone set this draft up. But then Landon Dickerson in the 2nd round. Eagles fans did not like this, and I get it. You want a corner. There's still veteran options at corner available. You can go sign a Casey Hayward or Richard Sherman, something like that. There's still room to develop that. That's not develop, but put in a piece at that 2nd corner spot. But Landon Dickerson, I love this pick, man. He's maybe the best offensive lineman, at least a day 1 offensive lineman in this class, other than the ACL stuff. So assuming he's healthy, which there's no reason to say he won't be, you start him at left guard, which gets you back to an offensive line of options at left tackle who have worked in spurts. Landon Dickerson at left guard, who could be an elite left guard. You have Kelsey back. You get Brandon Brooks back. You get Lane Johnson back. You're going to have a top 5 offensive line again next year. You added Devontae Smith. You hope Jalen Reagor benefits from everything getting better here. You get your tight ends back. Hopefully Ertz gets healthy. And all of a sudden this offense looks pretty damn good again. So that left guard hole gets filled. And on top of that, Jason Kelsey's not getting any younger. Landon Dickerson will eventually be able to slide back in at center. I love this pick. It's an A pick for me. Yeah, he could have gone corner, but Eagles fans need to chill a little bit. This is a really good pick. Milton Williams in the 3rd round. My goodness. He gets to learn from Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox. Are you freaking kidding me? What? Milton Williams is Aaron Donald without Aaron Donald's brain. Like, physically speaking, almost a physical clone. A little bit taller, but man, I'm not trying to build this thing up too much because he is a boomer bust prospect, but he has so much potential for the future of this Eagles team. And it's not like Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, even Javon Hargrave in there are getting any younger. I don't know if he's going to be an edge, a 3-tech, hybrid type of player. I don't know exactly how they're going to use him with the new coaching staff there, but regardless, I think he has an incredibly high upside in that defense. And then they take Zach McPherson out of Texas Tech. He transferred from Notre Dame, had a good year at Texas Tech. He's undersized, kind of quick, off-ball, zone corner. I think he could play in a pinch. I don't see him starting. He could also play in the slot, but you do have Avonte Maddox there. But overall, decent pick. Nothing crazy. I had a 5th to a 6th on him. They take him in the 4th. Kenneth Gainwell in the 5th round. So Howie Roseman keeps at it. Kenneth Gainwell, I think, belonged in the 2nd or the 3rd round. He's my RB4 in this class. Just gets pushed back because I don't know if you guys noticed it. There wasn't a whole lot of running backs that got drafted in this class. But he is an elite receiving threat out of the backfield. He's got speed. He's going to be the, complement to Miles Sanders there. They've really liked these guys like Boston Scott and some of these smaller back. Go back to Darren Sproles here. They've almost always had, in the Howie Roseman era, a back like this, but I don't think any of them have the explosiveness and ball skills down the field that Kenneth Gainwell has. So that's just tremendous value. It's an A+ for me. And then Marlon Tuipulotu in the 6th round. More great value. Detailed him in my top 10 interior defensive lineman video. He's never going to be an elite player, but he's a great run defender. And physically speaking, not too far off from Javon Hargrave. So just a impact 3rd defensive tackle to increase the depth and talent of that D-line that has started to taper off in age. And then I'm going to lump the Teron Jackson and Patrick Johnson picks together. I had Patrick Johnson as a much better player than Teron Johnson, but Patrick Johnson is really a refined speed rusher off the edge, and he's just another piece that they can get creative with. Teron Jackson, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up on the practice squad and Patrick Johnson makes the team. we'll see how that all plays out. I personally think Johnson's better, but it fills a void as that deep edge rotation spot, looking for more of a speed rusher because most of their edge guys are more power rushers. And then Jacoby Stevens in the 6th round, more great value. I will not be surprised to see him start next to Anthony Harris, and all of a sudden that could be a good safety duo. Jacoby Stevens got that legendary number 7 at LSU. He wore a bunch of different hats, was kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, and he's not a great athlete, but he's a really smart player, tough dude, and if nothing else, he's going to be a great special teamer on a rookie contract for them. So the Eagles' final grade for me is an A. Look, Eagles fans, I get it. Howie's been rough the last couple of years. I'd be pretty ticked off too, but I do have a lot of respect for Howie Roseman from what he did 2016, 2017. We've seen in this division Dave Gettleman adapt and evolve and learn from his mistakes. So I have a ton of respect for Howie Roseman. This was an impressive offseason as a whole. Navigated the entire coaching Carson Wentz cluster, and now he's here with a great draft. And I think the Eagles are getting back on track. The quarterback situation is next up, but they have 3 first-round picks next year, and Howie Roseman looks like he's back. So I'd be pretty excited if I was an Eagles fan. I get it if you're not, but that's my sales pitch for Howie Roseman, I suppose. Next up, we have the Washington football team. Lots of picks to break down here, just lots of picks in this division in general. But the football team's been outstanding at drafting since Ron Rivera got there. They take Jamin Davis in the 1st round. Is it a reach? Yeah. Can I explain exactly why they didn't take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah? Not exactly, other than they must have wanted size at that position. They have Landon Collins. They see JOK and Collins as slightly redundant in their defense. That's my best explanation there. But beyond that, Jamin Davis was the best linebacker available if you didn't want to go with JOK in that role that they're looking for. So I can't argue with that. Slight reach, but based on how I project Ron Rivera to develop Jamin Davis, I don't think this ends up looking like a reach. So I'm trying to stay consistent with how I grade these things. I think Jamin Davis is going to be awesome and could be a situation where, like Leighton Vander Esch, for example, 3 years ago, develops extremely well, and we look back on this and I look foolish for not giving an A pick. But I'm totally fine with what they did there. And hell, you could even flip it and say they get Samuel Cosmi in the 1st and Jamin Davis in the 2nd, and they both be A+ picks, or at least A picks. But they get Samuel Cosmi, who to me is quite possibly the best value of any player in the draft. I would say JOK, who ended up going with the next pick to Cleveland. Those were the last 2 true first-round grades that I had left on the board that went. And it was funny, Washington football team fans were telling me, we don't need a left tackle, we don't need a left tackle. So you must be pretty mad that you got Samuel Cosmi in the 2nd round. This is a great pick. I see him starting at left tackle. Sorry, Cornelius Lucas, he played valiantly, but he's low-end starter. You now have a potentially high-end left tackle there. So I'm glowing about the Samuel Cosmi pick. I think it was phenomenal value. Was, to me, linebacker and tackle, I think were my 2 biggest needs for this team. I'd have to go check the record. Obviously, the quarterback situation on top of that is left alone here, but everything else is so well in place. And then we got Benjamin St-Juste. I'm kind of waiting at the gates here to call my victory lap on this one. I'm curious to see if they can play Benjamin St-Juste as a safety. I like their cornerback group quite a lot. Maybe they do see him as a corner, but if he is a safety for them, this is going to go down as one of my better, just kind of sneaky under-the-radar draft calls. I said Benjamin St-Juste, a decent corner prospect, but I really like him at safety. Would have been one of my favorite safety prospects in this class. Would have honestly stacked up right up at the top with Merrick and Javon Holland. But anyway, he is physically almost identical to Justin Simmons. He's one of the best tackling defensive backs in this class. He's got short area quickness galore. He has that corner eye for the game, but I like how that could translate at safety because you see things differently and you can take risks knowing what your corners are doing. I think it's something that helped Justin Simmons himself as a former slot corner. So we'll see how they use him. If he is just a corner, this pick is fine. If he is a safety, I think this could be just another slam dunk move by Ron Rivera and this staff who nailed Cameron Curl last year. I do think they need another safety in there, by the way, which would have been their number 3 need. Then they take Diami Brown. Are you freaking serious? Diami Brown in middle of the 3rd round what a steal. Does this not feel just like Terry McLaurin all over again? As a prospect, very few difference to those players coming out. Excited to see how Dyami Brown's going to evolve here. He's going to be the number 3 target with Ryan Fitzpatrick in there, who honestly likes to zero in on one receiver. It might be a little difficult for him to get up to speed and really show a lot in year 1, but also kind of reminiscent of Chris Godwin when he got drafted behind a couple of really good receivers as well. Just absolutely incredible value to get Dyami Brown, 3rd round at a position of value like that. John Bates at tight end. I will criticize this one. I just don't see it. I have a 6th to 7th round grade on him. I don't think he's a decent blocker, but his separation ability, I thought there was better blocking specialists in this class if you wanted to go that route. So I will criticize that pick, which you can live with these other picks. Dark Forest in the 5th round. This is another right there, my safety takes this year. We'll see how the Benjamin St. Juice thing plays out, but I had Javon Holland as safety number 1. He ends up going a few spots ahead of Trayvon Merrick. But also Dark Forest was on my guys list. I got criticism for having in my top 10 safeties and leaving James Wiggins off of it. I said that Dark Forest is a better player than James Wiggins, much better coverage ability, and he ends up going 2 rounds ahead of James Wiggins to a team that has a great eye for this position. So also a great pick, Dark Forest, who had a 4th to a 5th round grade on it. He goes in the 5th round here. I think that's an A- pick. They take the cheese man, the long snapper, okay? Really deep roster, late 6th round. If you want to save some money at long snapper, I can forgive the pick. I just don't feel like grading it. You have 3 more 7th round picks. They take a couple of dart throws, basically to me trying to fill the Ryan Kerrigan role for this defense. You still have Ryan Anderson in there as well, but just that 3rd rotational edge rusher. I think they got a couple of decent prospects there that were draftable, so we'll give those Bs for 7th round picks. Probably nothing going to come of those guys. And then Dax Milne, just because why not? He's too good to pass up with one of the last picks in the draft. That gets an A for me. He's going to have an incredibly difficult time seeing the field, but as a number 4 wide receiver for this team, add some depth. That is not a great receiving core. At least it wasn't before this draft. It's looking a lot better after adding Brown and Dax Milne, and obviously Curtis Samuel in the offseason. Way to overhaul this roster, I would say overnight, but it really was like a year. This roster a year ago, I think I had them dead last in my power rankings, if not dead last, 2nd to last. And now this roster is up there to me with the Browns and the Bucks for the best roster outside of the quarterback position in the NFL. An A grade for the Washington football team, and what a draft for the NFC East. I think we're seeing a lot of good drafts this year in general so far, but I hope you guys are enjoying the videos to this point. Let me know in the comments down below, NFC East fans, what you think, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. We're going to be resuming with the AFC East. Going to have lots of quarterback talk. Make sure you guys subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss out on that. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the draft grades, and of course hit that like button, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.